Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area. I'm Mr. Bennet, followed by my partner, as always,
This is Sparta!
the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Panayotis. This is the Gray Area. Good to be back. Certainly missed you guys last week. Shout out to Boss Man, certainly for holding it down for me last week for the show. And again, just good to be back, man. Drell's in the building tonight. We got to get you on here, buddy. Certainly looking to get you on soon. Definitely got to have a show with you. But Milani, thank you for joining us. Braxton, the Snake Fiend, is also in the house tonight. Catellia, as always, good to have you in the place tonight as well on this edition of the Gray Area. So yes, I am back from vacation, and it's just good to be back with the group here. So for my man, my partner in crime, Peter, Yasso, my brother, what's going on?
Nothing much. I'm surprised customs let you through.
Man, hey, look, I come clean, man. I got nothing to hide. If you guys want to follow some of the action from my vacation, you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram. You can certainly look up my handle. I'm very easy to find. Paul T. Bennet. You can look me up. So certainly I posted a lot of videos, certainly in both platforms. So you can certainly, if you want to get a glimpse of some of the things that my wife and I experienced over the vacation, you can certainly see it there. We like sharing, certainly our experiences and whatnot with our friends and family, and certainly you guys are more than welcome to go and check out some of those videos that I posted. And but yeah, man, it's but everything was pretty clean and smooth getting through, and coming back. I literally just got back like less than 30 minutes ago, so. It's like, so, but Pete was asking me, look, are you still doing the show tonight? It's like, yeah, I'll be here. Mariana Constantine, good to have you with us also here on the Gray Area as well.
Question really fast. When I picture this morning, where were you?
That picture this morning, which one in particular? I've been posting all week. What's that?
If you're doing the show still, where were you exactly? Were you in?
We were actually, we just touched down. We were in Newark Airport. And waiting in baggage claim. So that's always like a thing. You can't put a time on it. Sometimes baggage claim takes 20 minutes. Sometimes it takes an hour. Miami, I got to tell you. What's that?
The first text I text, are you doing the show tonight? We were going back and forth.
I was on the plane. 5:30. Yeah, you said around 5:30. We were on the plane. So our plane touched down about 6:45, something like that when it touched down. But I wouldn't have been able to get your text until we touched down anyway. So definitely appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for doing that, boss man. So yeah, so I wouldn't be able to get it anyway because you got to be in airplane mode and all that kind of stuff. So, got our stuff and just got in and had to hug the dog and the kids and everything, missed the fam and whatnot. And so again, definitely you can be in paradise all you want to, but there's nothing like home, nothing like Jersey. The only thing I wish they would do as a suggestion to the governor of New Jersey, I think he should mandate for all New Jersey citizens returning back home to New Jersey, they should be playing Bruce Springsteen as soon as you get off, just to remind you that you're in New Jersey at that point. So shout out to the boss, shout out to Bruce Springsteen. So yes, I was just in my head. I was just listening to Bruce Springsteen in my head as I was coming off. Yeah, it's Jersey, baby. So I was certainly glad to be home, despite the 25-degree weather.
When you walk through the airport and you're back at home, you're flying through doors and your dog sees you. Did he fucking freak out like mine does?
He didn't freak out per se, but he was definitely very happy to see us. He didn't get the zoomies as they call it, but yeah. Oh, how is Miami Airport? It's one of the worst airports in the country. Okay, especially when it comes to baggage claim. We were in baggage claim for about an hour and 20 minutes. So we had a shuttle to take us to the cruise port that we were waiting on. So we had gotten there plenty of time, and we had gotten our first set of. And the thing is, we got our first set of luggage. So we had two pieces that we got early on, and then it was like over an hour plus in between until we got the other ones. And then people are asking about stuff, so everyone's blaming the baggage handlers. The baggage handlers blame someone else. But then I looked it up. If you look up worst airports, especially for baggage claim, Miami is near the top in terms of a baggage claim. So definitely So definitely, if I could fly anywhere else but Miami Airport, as you no, they lost last week too. So I got no defense either. So they've been on a losing streak,
You
but
left. They know you're on vacation. They weren't sure you're coming back. They took 2 weekends off, and so that helps other teams.
yeah,
Do that.
yeah. So hopefully I'll be home for Christmas. So hopefully they can win against Kansas City, but Miami again, definitely it's not as modernized. I mean, some of the airports certainly in the Northeast, Newark. I know LaGuardia. I know that used to be ranked as one of the worst airports. They've done a big turnaround in terms of renovations and whatnot. Terminal A at Newark is pretty good for getting folks in and out. But like I said, Miami baggage claim, that's another story. So that was something we were a little stressing out about because again, the last shuttle to go back to the airport, I think we got the shuttle by like 15 minutes before the last one went off, and everybody was just waiting around for their stuff. So not the greatest experience, but overall though, certainly we had a wonderful time, and certainly
baggage is not the cruise's fault or anything like that. And it's unfortunately that's the airport's problem. As much as you want to say, yeah, that's their fucking fault, it's not. Unfortunately,
yes, everybody was pointing the finger at somebody else. But at that point, we just got to the point where everyone said, "Hey, can we just get our stuff?" And like I said, the crazy thing about it was, again, everybody got like their first set of luggage. Everything was on the same plane, so we got our first set. So we were like, "Okay, well, where's the second set?" And everybody just started standing around. So like I said, it didn't seem to make sense to anybody. But all things considered. Certainly it was a good time, and I wasn't going to let things like that sort of ruin a good time. And one of the things that I took away, just like sort of the big picture, sort of the 10,000 foot view of travel. And again, I don't know for those who do travel, one thing I have noticed for those who travel frequently, some people I see they kind of lose the joy of traveling. My thing is, from this experience alone, again, it's not like I travel. I think the last time I've been on a plane was probably 2 years ago when my wife and I, we went to Jamaica for a week. But one of the things that, because I don't travel certainly not by plane often, for those who travel frequently, there's a joy oftentimes that's lost when traveling. I'm still like a kid. I remember the first time when I was at Newark Airport when I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. And I still remember the first time I got on an airplane. And I still get that same feeling. Every time I get on an airplane, the takeoff and the landing of an airplane, of a passenger jet, is still to me one of the most thrilling things ever. Now, I know some of you guys, y'all got millions of miles in travel. I know, I get it. You guys travel all the time. It's like taking a bus. It's like taking a train or whatever. I get it. But I've never lost that idea. I drive by Newark Airport on my way to work every day, and I see those planes taking off and landing, and it's still one of the most majestic things that I ever have the opportunity to see. Cash Rain Mindset, again, thank you for joining us tonight also. And I just at this point in my life, I never want to lose that innocence when it comes to travel. Yes, there could be problems. Yes, there could be missed flights and all kinds of things that go on. But a lot of times I've seen, even with this trip, I've seen with a lot of travelers. And I don't know if you've ever was there ever a period in your life? I know you've lived in Greece and back here. I don't know if you've gone through a season of travel. But I never want to get to a point in my life where I become cynical about travel. Because, again, I think people lose perspective in terms of how rare generally that is. To be able to get on it, first of all, to get on an airplane and land. I was happy that people still applaud, because I heard there was a thing after a while. There used to be a tradition where if a plane landed, you applauded for landing, and you applauded and you thanked the pilots for landing the plane. And I think for a long time it was kind of a thing where people stopped doing that. And I'm like, look, to go up and to come down, that's a blessing in and of itself. So I remember even getting on the plane just before I got on, just as you're going through the door, I kind of touched the plane. I kind of said a little prayer on the plane. It's like, just get me home, And so I just don't want to be that type of person who loses not only the joy of travel, but also loses the joy of experiencing different things. I think for the rest of my life, I want to be someone who's about enrichment. Enrichment not only in the travel process, enrichment in the places that I have the opportunity to go to, and the enrichment in the people who I meet along the way. And whether it be a good experience or a bad one, but nevertheless, I am better for the experience than not traveling at all. And I see a lot of people who've had opportunities that we met a guy just as we got back from the cruise ship into Miami. This guy's been to Hawaii 6 times. And he's just like, I don't know, it's like the thrill is gone. You know what I mean? It's like he had something to complain about being there. And then and then another interesting nugget he shared was he doesn't like to travel when there's a bunch of kids around. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I definitely go to, because he was on the cruise with us as well. He was like, oh yeah, kids were running around. I don't like the kids. But then he had an interesting throwaway. Just as he said that, he said the one thing he regrets in life, even though he's traveled a lot of places, he then said, I wish I had kids. So, for a guy who says you don't like kids on vacation, but then you wish you had kids. The part of the process of having kids, yeah, you take your kids on vacation. Yeah, and kids are going to be around and whatnot, and they have their own intricacies. I get the crying babies sometimes or whatnot, but guess what? Traveling with a bunch of senior citizens, that's not always fun either. But nevertheless, you're still in the position to travel, and you're still in a position to experience things if you have a proper mindset in terms of why you're going. And I think a lot of people travel, it's almost like taking drugs. It's like, the first hit, yeah, it's like, oh wow, this is cool and all this kind of stuff. And then it's like it doesn't thrill you anymore, but you're looking for the next high. And there's just a lot of people who I'm just blessed just to be able to be in some of these places. And for some, they complain about everything. The food isn't quite right. The food isn't up to par. This wasn't better. It was better on this cruise. It was better on that one. It's like, then why are you going? If you can't appreciate the opportunity that's been afforded to you, because these trips are not cheap. And if you've been offered or afforded the opportunity to engage in these things, then, I would think your attitude would be a little bit different. But again, maybe that's inevitable for someone who's, again, if you've been around the world a couple times, maybe that's inevitable. But I just hope and pray that I never develop a mindset that is ungrateful or just takes for granted the opportunities that my wife and I have been afforded to travel and to see parts of the world that we never had a chance to see before, to do things that we didn't get a chance to do before, that, again, 99% of the world simply does not get an opportunity to do. And I hope that I never develop that sort of cynicism where it's just like you look for everything that's wrong with the situation. I get it. You're paying money for stuff, and you should certainly get a good value for your money. I get that. But you can still, even in the best of places, you can always look for what's wrong with a situation rather than what is right with a situation. And you miss blessings and opportunities to see and like I said, not only see vistas and go to shows or whatnot, but just the time that you get a chance to spend with your wife. I mean, one of the posts that I know you saw it, Pete, when
all of them.
Yeah, so the one I had where it's basically my wife and I, we were kind of in between shows. We had some downtime. It was like a couple hours between shows.
Oh,
so we
an Uno you're talking about.
Yeah. So we were bored. So we were like, all right. So again, we're waiting. We had dinner, and then we had a 9:30 show and all that. And the shows on the cruise were pretty good as well. And I said, you know what? I just went into the store. I just got some Uno cards. And we just started playing Uno for like, for however long it did until we got ready for the show. And we were good with that. So it's like, so I kind of made in my post, it's like, yeah, I mean, certainly a sign of good marriage is not just about, you can kind of mask some things. Yeah, you go into shows, you're spending money, you're doing this and that, but can you just hang out with your wife and just play Uno cards and have fun and not kill each other at the end of the day? I mean, just simple things that, and for me, the biggest blessing of the trip was not even so much about the place that we saw, which was nice, which was great, but just hanging out with my wife, and to say that we're in our 28th year, and that I still, for me, the biggest blessing and the best part of the whole trip is that I just got a chance to hang out with her, and we just did our thing over the few days. That, all those are blessings to me. So, for me, for us, again, fabulous time. Some people may say, "Oh, this was better. This cruise line was better. The food was better." Whatever you may say, I had a great time, and so that's just one thing I just kind of came away with. Is, like I said, I just don't want to be cynical when it comes to travel. And I don't know if you know people like that and whatnot, but let me ask you. I mean, have you ever had a season in your life where you had a chance to actually do some travel, to really go to the islands, to just different places or whatnot? Just you personally, or to travel with some friends, or maybe an ex or something. What has been your experience with travel, especially by air? Or I don't know if have you ever been on a cruise before, or just what's been your experience with that?
On a cruise, but I've been on enough speedboats, ships, travel from island to island in Greece, so I know the experience. I know the food part of it and all that stuff. Not a cruise, kind of like, well, I was going from Athens to another island, so that was the difference. They served you. It was like an 8-hour. No, was it 8 hour? Yeah, an 8-hour boat drive from the main island to remember what island we were going to. Is Panaia's island. That is I'm named after Panaia. Is her island we're going to. I can't remember. I think it's called it's not Andros.
Okay.
It will come back to me. But I remember as a kid, and the excitement right now is not there. If I go on a plane to go to Hawaii or DR, Alaska, it's a plane ride. No big deal. It's nothing to me because I grew up on planes. Planes to me are second nature. I know I've been traveling, people are freaking out. I looked over and I'm like, this is normal. Like, you travel like kind of like I've been going back and forth all my life on planes. So to me, it's normal. It's everything.
Right.
Traveling. The most excitement I got into, I would say, when I went to DC a few years back for a overdue long vacation. I had my first adult vacation in DC, and I had a great fucking time.
Yeah,
with a couple of friends, we had a great time. And it was enjoyable. Like, and even when I went on, I go to Maryland every year to see our friend CQ.
Yeah, right.
And when I started going up there, I'm excited to go there. I'm not excited for the drive. It's a 3.5 hour fucking drive. But I'm excited to go up there, and it's sad to leave because you're leaving, friends behind. So you got the mix of results. Like, it's a lot of them. So it's, again, like I said, the traveling doesn't excite me anymore. Getting to this
really,
excited to me.
Yeah.
It's like, if we're going to even a cruise ship, if I get on a cruise ship, I won't be excited to travel part. When I get on a cruise trip, like, okay, now is to have fun time. Time to leave everything at home. Fuck the dog, fuck the work, fuck this, fuck that, fuck everything.
Right.
Like, give me a goddamn whiskey and a fucking cigar, kick my feet up, and I'll walk around nude in my fucking cabin if I have to. I don't give a shit. I'm on vacation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. So you're kind of validating what I was saying earlier. I think once the travel part gets kind of normalized, that's not part of the fun for you. For me, the travel is still part of the fun.
See, I'm exception to our rule. And forget, I grew up in 2 different countries.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So traveling to me is like going home now.
Yeah.
Commute to work kind of feeling.
Right.
So it's not a difference to me.
Right.
It's just one of those things.
Right.
And I deal with it, and it's just, like, people complain about the plane ride. Like, I don't complain about the plane rides. It's just, I like plane rides. Don't get me wrong. I don't go, oh man, this road is like conversion. This pilot doesn't know what it's fucking doing. I'm like, then you fucking do it. I have turned people like, if you're gonna fucking bitch, you fucking do it.
Yeah, you fly the plane, right? It's crazy. All right, so Black Man's been asking, what was my? There's 2 questions there. All right, so what was my favorite food on the ship? I would say all of it. I had lamb, Pete. I know with Greeks, I know you guys are big fans of lamb. I had to remind myself I don't ever think I recall ever having lamb. Certainly not in the last 25, 30 years. I can't remember a time when I had lamb. So one of the meals that night was they had this kind of, big, I guess, rib bone of the lamb or whatnot. And it was interesting. At first, I thought it was steak. It had like the first bite, I thought it was steak. And then it kind of tastes like turkey and stuff. And then I kind of got to a point where I said, you know what? I don't know what this I can't relay this to any other thing that I've had before. So lamb certainly has a very distinctive taste to it that is different from anything else. But I got to tell you, black man, I liked all of it. I liked the buffets. I liked and they even had the after 10:30 at night. They had the late night up till 2 a.m. So again, you did your shows and whatnot. You got the munchies in the middle of the night. You went down there. You got the buffets. We dined every night at one of the restaurants there. They had a different option every night. I tried every meal. You know what? I liked all of it. Now again, some people's like, the food is better on this ship. Try Norwegian cruise lines. Their food is better. We've had a lot of stuff. So for me, all of it. But my favorite meal was actually not all in the ship. So one of the stops we stopped in was San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I had mofongo for the first time. So mofongo, it's like a dish that's made out of plantain, and so you typically mix it with spices and herbs and whatnot, and then you put like meats, chicken, steak, fish, shrimp, or whatever. So I had this steak mofongo for the first time, and we stopped at a little spot after we did the tour in San Juan, which again was phenomenal, and then we just stopped at a local spot. And I just ordered it there, whatnot. Loved it. I love usually in a lot of these places, I try my best to get a sample of the local fare from the people who do stuff. Like when we were in Jamaica a couple years ago, we stopped at this place called the Pork Pit that had real barbecue. I mean, they were barbecuing on these big tin barbecue grills or whatnot, like sort of like Brazilian style. And we got some of that food, and that was better than anything that was served up in the resorts. You know what I mean? So again, as much as I can, if I can get some of the authentic stuff on the island, I try to go for that. When we went to Dominican Republic, I got a chance to have some of the local fare that was there as well, the rice and beans and whatnot. So yeah, a lot of stuff off the excursions. I look forward to when you get an opportunity. But sometimes with the excursions and whatnot, you don't necessarily get a chance to sample all that fare. So again, a lot for dinner, especially, you get a lot of stuff on the you get a lot of stuff on the ship. But the mofongo with the beefsteak, that was probably my best thing that I had that night. Catalia's asking, did you have one night at dinner with the captain? No, we didn't graduate to that level yet. We saw the captain. He kind of greeted everybody one of the nights. I didn't know if they still do that or not, or do you have to be like in a VIP section or something like that to sit at the captain's table? The places that we dined at, we didn't see him there, so I don't know. These days, everything is so, you kind of pay for entry, so to speak. So again, maybe if we were yacht club members or something like that, yeah, maybe then you get to meet with the captain or certainly dine at the captain's table. I remember those episodes of Love Boat going up and whatnot. It seemed like everybody on the show seemed to dine with Captain Steubing. So I remember all of that. But no, we didn't get a chance to dine with him. Milani's asking, all-inclusive food and drinks, not all. Again, everything is about levels. So where we were at, buffets were included, and we had a specific restaurant that we had access to. There were other certainly fine dining restaurants that you either could have paid into or you just pay a la carte to do that. And with these places, everything is about drinking. Everything. I mean, that's like half the money that's there is alcohol. So you could certainly buy a drink package. My wife and I, we opted out because honestly, one, we're not drinkers. We're lifetime teetotalers. Well, she drank a little wine and whatnot before we met, but basically we don't drink. So for us, we didn't think that the alcohol package would be good. But even a soda to get on the ship was like $4. But so we would get like maybe a Coke Zero here and there and whatnot. But I don't think we spent more than like $20 on drinks. We did water. In fact, we brought our own water filtering bottles on the ship. The juices and whatnot, iced tea, lemonade. We just did that. But we're not big drinkers with the alcohol. But that's definitely a major revenue revenue for her. So yeah.
When
Yeah,
you guys went to several islands, correct?
correct.
So how long were you per island?
Typically, when you go into port, you're at a port for about 6 hours or so. Actually, say nine, about 7 hours. So usually you get in the port about nine, and you're typically there. You need to be back on the ship by about 4:30 or so, and then they pull out at 5 o'clock. The only exception to that was the Bahamas. We got there about 11, and then we were pulling out like about 5 o'clock. So typically, anywhere between 6 to 8 hours, you're going to be in the port to kind of sample what's there, and then you pull out. So
It's a full day, so that's not more enough time to get an idea if you want to go back or not, at least.
yeah, well, that's the thing. I think it is. I think especially if you go on an excursion, which again you pay for excursions outside of that. So again, going into the trip, certain places, certain excursions. So some people went kayaking, some people went scuba diving, some people went horseback riding and whatnot. So we planned it out in terms of what we want. And for me, it was also very important. I think we talked about this a few shows ago. It was also very important to me that it was something that my wife and I were going to do together. So I said, this is basically your trip, right? So whatever, because my thing is, the important thing for me is that we do stuff together. I don't want to be like, I never want to go on vacation and I don't see my wife all day because she's doing something and I'm doing something else. It's like, no, we ride or die together. So we weren't going to do any, zip lining was out. She had that experience in Jamaica. Didn't turn out too well. So it's like, so she wasn't going to do anything overly adventurous. So, okay. So what are the things that you can sign up that we can do? So everything that we did, we were together. And so yeah, but it does. I think it gives you enough to say we need to come back. So I know San Juan, I want to go back there. I mean, very, very well developed place. Obviously, it is a U.S. territory, and certainly you can see the American influence down there. You felt very safe there. Bahamas, again, my wife's mom is Bahamian, so again, certainly being able to go back there and see what's going on with that. So I think, depending on the excursion, especially if you take the tours or whatnot, it gives you a flavor to say, hey, maybe we do want to come back, especially in that area. You can easily do like an extended weekend, like a 3-4 day weekend stay or whatnot, if you want to see more of the place. I think what I liked about cruising is that because you stop in all these different locations, then you can say, hey, you know what? Let's check this out. Let's check this out next time. Hey, that's her home. All right, San Juan. Beautiful city, and I got to talk about I'll talk a little bit more about San Juan, when we get to that part. Now, Black Man asked me this question. Mr. Bennet, were the what well behaved? What are you saying?
Horse, I think.
Is that the horses well behaved? Yeah, they were. The horses were. The only thing is, this is the second time in a row. So when we were in Jamaica, we did horseback riding, and we got drenched. It just rained like the entire. It was sunny when we got there, and it just rained the whole time we were there. So we were just completely soaked in that, knee deep in water. And the same thing happened on this trip as well. We got soaked in there. I got mud everywhere, and whatnot on my clothes and whatnot. But you know what? It didn't matter. For me, the important thing is that my wife and I, and again, my wife, she's not a big animal lover like that. She loves our dog, but she's not all into that stuff. But she was willing to do it. So I said, okay, you pick the event. So she said, okay, we'll do the horseback riding, because she did that before. And for me, it was just that we were together, doing something, especially anytime my wife gets out of her comfort zone and does things. That's what's special to me. Is when we're able to do those sort of things together. So yeah, the horses were well behaved, and you really, I mean, yeah, they kind of taught you a little bit how to steer it. But again, these horses, they're so used to this thing, it's almost like automatic. Like they follow the other horses, they know where to go and where not to go and whatnot. You just got to correct either here or there. Some speed up to stay with the pack, some slow down and whatnot. But you really didn't have to do too much with them.
They're trained so well.
Yeah.
Yes, this question. DR, did you have mango?
No. We had, I think it was basically, we had some chicken, we had some rice and beans. That was part of the lunch fare. Because by the time we got back, it was like I said, because the thing is, you don't want to get back to the ship like 30 minutes before it takes off, because everyone's trying to get back at that time. But the one benefit that we did get. Now, my nephew has friends all throughout Latin America. He lives half the year seemingly in Latin America. It just so happened that this time he actually was in Dominican Republic, very close to where the pier was. He was about an hour away. So after we came back from our excursion, we actually had a chance to meet him at the port, and we spent some time with him. Again, had a picture of him also in one of my videos. Certainly. So just to meet him but he is like a fish out. He's just so natural. He's been speaking Spanish fluently since he was a kid. Because in his church, they used to do mission work in Costa Rica and whatnot. So him and his sister, very fluent in Spanish. And not only in him, he's to the point now he understands dialects. So when he's in DR, that's a dialect. When he's in Puerto Rico, that's a dialect. If he's in Costa Rica, that's another dialect that he has down. And we just saw him working because at the port, the customs agents, they can be a little funny. So there was this one family that was trying to do a shortcut to get back to the port, and the guy made him go all the way around. And then for us, he was talking to the guys like he knew them. And he was like, yo, this is my aunt and uncle or whatnot. And he's doing his Spanish, blah, 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 blah. He's like, okay, you guys are good. You can go back. So he just knows how to work a room or just work with the people. He's so tied into the.
Yeah, he's a talker.
Yeah. So he knows how to do it and whatnot. So he that's what he does. And he just started his own trial. I was telling him, it's like, man, all these places that you've been to and whatnot. Yeah, you really need to develop like a travel blog. Set up your YouTube channel and start making like a travel blog in terms of the places and excursions and talk about the culture and your experiences there. Because again, he has a very unique experience. He's African American, but again, very much a lover of Latin culture. He literally embeds himself in the culture, and he knows so much about it that he comes back. He'd be telling me all the stuff that be going on over there. So I was like, yeah, man, you need to be able to share your experience with people. He dances. He showed us one of his videos. I mean, he knows the Latin dances better than a lot of people who were there. He was showing us some video of that. So it's like, yo, dude, you need to definitely take this to the next level. So he's starting to put a channel together, and certainly looking forward to having these experiences. Black man was asking, what's this carnival? No, this was actually MSC, which I never heard of. MSC was actually recommended to us from a friend of ours who's done several cruises with them. I think he's one of those yacht club members or something. So he recommended MSC to us, and so that was our first time hearing about them. But the big guys. In fact, when we were in, salute to Lost, man, good to see you, my brother. When we were in Bahamas, you had 6 huge ships in port, and I posted a video about you sometimes you lose perspective. And again, I get military guys. You might have served on an aircraft carrier, something like that, or a submarine, and that's immense. But again, when you look at these ships, over 1,000 foot long, these ships hold 5,000-6,000 people. So when we were in Bahamas, you had 6 ships. You had the Disney ship, the Wish ship in there. You had the Virgin Atlantic ship in there. You had Norwegian had 2 ships in there, Voyager of the Seas, and another ship name. And then you had a Carnival ship in there. But they're all just lined up in the pier. And so think about it. Each ship holds about 4,000 to 6,000 people. So it's like you basically have a city amongst those 6 ships that are in port all at one time. So these things are immense, and and just like the architecture that goes into making these things is to me, just as a just sort of a science or nerdy guy like that. I like seeing engineering, how stuff is made. Again, it's phenomenal just seeing these big ships and how they move on the water but the crazy thing about it is, as immense as they are up close, I made a post. If you're a Star Trek fan, everybody remembers Star Trek, the motion picture when Kirk is going over the ship and everything, and he's all in awe of the design of it and the size of it. I kind of felt like that as I was, just walking about the ship, walking under it, seeing the front of it, and it's like, man, these are huge vehicles. But the crazy thing about it is when they're on the water, like when they're in the Atlantic, you feel very small. because it's so like the Atlantic is so vast in terms of just its size, like where you could be on there for miles and not see a thing, not see land, not see another ship, not see anything. You're just literally not even a blip on a radar screen. So it just kind of gives you this sort of scale in terms of, yes, it's big up close, but when it's on the water, it's an ant, it's a gnat, and relative to the size of everything that's going on. So yeah, so that I appreciated, seeing the craftsmanship, how they're able to put these things together, and the relative safety of them. I mean, most of certainly there've been some ships that have crashed or sunk over the years. Most of those have been before 1940. The Titanic being certainly the most notable of those ships. But since certainly the two,
Italy that capsized, but they realized it was
but that was totally the pilot. I mean, the captain. Yeah, he got convicted to 16 years in prison because he tried to pull this maneuver apparently to impress a lady of some kind, and he got too close to the shore and hit a rock, and
he went to the ship.
Exactly. Yeah, now like 32 people died as a result of that. So he got sentenced. He's in prison right now, 16 years for that. So that's
I've been on 100 ships over my lifetime, from small to humongous ships. I've been on regular civilian ships, and I've been in Fleet Week. I've been on several battle cruisers, and those things are humongous. And there are two different worlds there. And you know, like when you walk through it, you don't realize you're on a ship, but you're not on a ship. You're on a city is on water.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I always ask my buddies who are seamen. I know BMU don't go there already. My friends who are in the Navy, and they go, how is that? They always tell me, bigger the ship, crazier the people are. And I think Bossman would agree with me because he wasn't on a ship, but most Marines he knew probably was on on ships too. Bigger the ship, crazier the people. I'm like, why? It might seem bigger, but it's tighter the quarters at times. Sometimes you have 4 or 5 people. Now, that's my next question to go to you. How was the quarters situation? How was the
actually, and Katia asked the question too. Did we have an ocean view rooms? Not only did we have ocean view, we had a balcony. So we got the balcony room, and I tell you, that was tremendous. That's what kind of gave you that sense of how small you were. You know what I mean? It's like, because again, the ocean is just vast. And whether you're looking at it at nighttime, whether you're looking at it during the daytime, and the ship is moving about 20 knots, per hour, just kind of cruising along. It was really nice to have that view. It's kind of almost similar to I used to love sitting in the windows, having a window seat when I flew because I like to see the plane take off and land. But this experience basically being able to sit out on a balcony, and you and your wife, you just chilling there and just observing. And just in awe of, again, how big the ship is, how fast it's moving relative to the water and everything. But at the same time, there's the sense of the vastness of it. You saw the sun when the sunrise is coming up, you could see that, and you were like in awe. I mean, this is like, so for us, it almost gets kind of spiritual for us because again, we see like the vastness of God's creation, But you also see man's creation at the same time. And for me, it's like those things don't necessarily have to be in conflict with one another. Man, we've been made, if you believe, you've been made in the image of God. Certainly man can certainly craft such ships that are able to move about on these ocean waters and have that, have those abilities. But again, when you see the vastness of it, again, waking up at sunrise, and we would oftentimes sleep with our we're on the 15th floor, so we would oftentimes sleep with the sliding door open, just to hear the soothing sound of the ocean, of the ship, because the ship is pretty quiet. Like you can barely hear the ship when it's traveling, and it's just something like, exactly, the stars are something different underwater. Absolutely, and just that vastness, you just pause. Because especially if you live like in an urban area, if you're just busy all the time, or just the grind of everything, and you could just pause and just take a minute to see the creation and see how all that kind of works together. Yeah, it makes you very humble in that situation.
I know safety is issue. Is it a certain length? Will it have a safety barrier?
Now, well, it's the deck is what it is. Now, if you're gonna be you can certainly be the crazy fool and jump out if you want to.
No, I'm talking about on your room from your deck from your room. If you
that's what I'm saying. You open up and it's a deck. You can certainly, like I said, if you want to climb out, like I said, you can if you want to. But no, we would just sit. There's two chairs there. There's a ottoman in the middle. And my wife and I, we just sit there, cross the legs over each other, and we're just taking it in. And like I said, we would sleep with the door open, and it was just a different experience, man.
Me personally being on a shift off and on in my life is a wave hits a rogue wave, what it's called, hits the side, and it tells somebody just next minute flies overboard, not on purpose. No. The only time you felt the sense of motion on the ship is when on the open days. You would feel like you're walking and you do feel the kind of shift to the left and to the right or whatnot. I mean, not enough, at least for us. We don't get seasick or anything. So you did feel some of the motion, especially when it's in high gear. So except on those days you're on the ship all day, it's going like 20, 25 knots. So it's really moving. So but nothing sudden, like nothing like crashing against it. And I can't even that. I mean, you would need like a tidal wave or like a nor'easter size wave to kind of move these things. I mean, these things don't typically, move. But again, a little subtle here or there. You're walking down the hall, you kind of feel yourself going one way or the other. Yeah, you might feel a little bit of that, but nothing sudden. It's not like remember on the old episodes of Star Trek where something hit the Enterprise and everybody went flying over to the one side of the aisle or the other. It wasn't exactly. It's like it's like, Scotty, we need more boost the shield, Scotty. Something like it wasn't like that. But you did feel some of the kind of going to the left or the right a little bit. That you did feel some of the motion, but again, not enough to make you sick. But certainly that was an element of it. It depends on the cruise. I know CQ went on a cruise a couple years back, a Disney cruise for him and his kid and his wife. And those are nice ones because there's things you can do with mommy and daddy can do is only adults can go in that part of the cruise, and they drop the kid off a daycare or whatever they have.
Yep, they had all that. Yeah, they had decks and floors for the kids. They had kids activities. Say you could leave your kids off. Then they had the nightlife. They had the after parties. I mean, anything that you wanted to do. Certainly on the ship, you did. They had parties like every night, like 11:30 upstairs. So they had shows that you could go to. What's that?
That's a lot of people want to go cruises. They want to go party and they have fun.
Yeah, there's that element if you want it. If you want to chill, just on the one a day on the chill days, we were literally on the aft of the ship, at the pool, and that's one of the videos I was just showing that just me and the missus. We just hung out there, getting some sun in. We got in the pool a little bit, then we just kind of just to chill and relax. But we're in the back of the boat, seeing it, on the water. So you can do that also. Again, the shows and the last two shows we went to were really good. I mean, there was usually they have a comedian, usually they have like a magician there and whatnot. But the last two shows, they had this one Cirque du Soleil show. That was, I mean, what these folks were doing. I mean, they had these two girls. I think I don't know if I sent you a video or not, but they had these girls. I was like, I don't see how these girls had spines because, you see, like, they bent themselves so far back. It's like they literally folded. This is like their torso. They bent their legs all the way back like this. It's like their spines were going to snap or something like that. My wife and I were kind of cringing a little bit how they were able to do it, but really, it's like it was like a variety show. We saw stuff that you typically don't know. You had jugglers, they had strength guys doing stuff. They had these folks on roller skates. The guy puts a chain around his neck and he wraps it around the girl's neck and he spins her around on the neck and she's twisting and just all kinds of crazy stuff, man. They used to do a lot of that variety stuff like back in the. I remember seeing some of that stuff growing up, like some like circus acts.
I remember when I went to circus in Greasley's, It was like I'm watching the show. God, what the fuck? And like it was impressive, actually, creepy but impressive.
Yeah.
But again, the point of all this stuff is fun.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
You probably had a show for every kind of person out there.
Exactly. And the last show was, the last show was the Michael Jackson show. And again, I put a few videos of that up, and that guy was like, you were trying to watch everything else in the show, but you couldn't take your eyes off the guy. I mean, the guy was so good with just the detail. If you're familiar with Michael Jackson, his dance moves, it's not just the moonwalk. I mean, he had all the subtle stuff down in his routine, where you literally is like you suspended reality. It's like, that's Michael Jackson. I mean, he the look, the movements and everything, he really had it down so well in that show. So it was basically like a tribute show to Michael Jackson. So they did, all kinds of stuff with that. And like I said, I mean, they did a great job. I mean, it was I think every show that we were at, you enjoyed yourself. You definitely didn't come away, disappointed. And again, a lot of those people like live on the ship. Now, the thing that always got me was certainly for the employees on these cruise lines, because these ships carry like 1,000 to 1,500 employees who literally live on these ships. I mean, it's like these guys are from all over the world. They're from Thailand. They're from Latin America. They're from Europe. They're from, all these different places. And they literally, this is their life. They may have like families back home, and they basically send them the money that they make on the cruise ship. They basically send that money back home to support their families. But they could be like at sea for like 6 to 8 months out of the year. And so it's like a little culture in and of itself. And everybody was, you can say, yeah, it's a job, but everyone, again, very friendly. The people that our housekeeper, very cool guy. I mean, made sure, doted on us, anything we needed, anything that was extra. I mean, it was, it's like just the attitudes was just great.
A few years back, I was offered through another chef because he was leaving the everyday restaurant business to go into the cruise business. He's done it before and he misses it. He goes to me.
Yeah.
I go, what do you miss so much? He goes, like, you travel for free. I'm like, if you go aboard, that's your time off. I'm like, you don't get time off during sea time. Sea time is work time. He goes,
right.
And he used to break it down to me, and I couldn't because obviously with my responsibilities at home.
Yeah.
I had another dog at a time. I had my mother. You get the idea. So what they pay them, it doesn't sound a lot on paper at first. But when you start adding up, because you're overseas, so it depends what the company is. Taxes are a little different on that, because when you're overseas, you don't have to pay Uncle Sam.
Right.
So it's different. Again, don't quote me on the Uncle Sam part.
But, I got you.
But one part, I talked to some other people who do cruises, like some guy who's a bartender on a cruise. He goes, because you get bored very easily. A lot of these guys start hooking up and doing stupid shit behind closed doors when you guys are sleeping. I go, are you serious? Like, bro? And he goes to me like, there's so many shit goes on these cruise ships. They're fun, but the problem is biggest turnout rate, because you never have the same people too long, because they get bored, they miss home, or they get as I started the show with, sometimes like the cynicism, it's like, yeah, this is like a great job and you get to travel over the world and see stuff. But if you've done it maybe 4 or 5 times, yeah, maybe it may lose some of its luster, and you're like, and especially again, now if you're the type of person, again, you want to settle down, you want to have a family, you want some grounding in your life. It may be for like the young, for the younger person. It may certainly bid you well to do something like that. But again, everything has a season. Everything has a reason. Everything has a season. So for a season of your life, if you were able to, let's say from 21 to 25 or whatever, you work the cruise line, fine. And then let's say you want some roots, you want to settle down somewhere and maybe take a job more domestically or whatnot. You could do that also. But at least to say that you had the experience of having worked on certainly on a major cruise line and seeing what that life is like. I think it's something that if you have the opportunity to do,
certainly, I wouldn't hate you for doing it. I think it would certainly be a benefit to you, and it would help you. And I think the thing it also gives you is it gives you again a global perspective. I mean, the whole purpose of the show, The Gray Areas, when we talk about culture from different perspectives, how other people live, and the values that people have. And again, you had every ethnicity you could think of on the ship. In fact, I've met very few Americans, I think, who worked on the ship. Maybe like less than 5 on my hand. Everyone else was, like I said, from a foreign country. So all these people kind of working and living together in this environment, being able to see the world, seeing how other people live and whatnot. And I think a lot of that probably gets into, again, the mindset of the folks. Yeah, I know you have a job, but again, for some of these folks, if they were back home, what would their lives be like? Would they be able to see and experience the things that people back in their own country don't get a chance to see, the pictures that they send back home? Would they be able to see those sort of things? So I think certainly for a young person, especially if you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life or whatnot, or you want to see the world from a different perspective, you can certainly. It used to be join the military, right? You say join the Navy, right? Yeah. You'll see all of the world if you join the Navy. That was always a thing
Navy
when I was growing.
Or Air Force, those two of the branches that you should say.
Right. You travel the world, but working a cruise line, you can say it's probably a lot safer. If you don't want to go through boot camp or whatever, you can certainly see, taking that route. Also, I think it could be a great option for people who want, and at least to get some perspective, versus the small world of the bubble that you live in. So shout out to that 1,000 to 1,500 crew members. They did their best to make us feel welcome. At least in our view. Again, you talk to seasoned travelers or whatnot. Some will say, "Hey, well, again, the people on this cruise line were better." And again, just like anything else, I mean, you always gonna have one or two that you didn't mess with. I think that's always going to be something. But those one or two bad apples, should that spoil your whole experience? That's always been my thing. But it's interesting you talk about the global perspective. One thing that I would say, that if there's anything that bothered me about the trip, I would say this was the food waste on these. And again, that can be in any resort, any kind of thing. I get that.
Okay, so that's what goes with my line of work. So it is a lot in any restaurant. I don't care where you work at, McDonald's, Burger King, Texas Roadhouse, whatever. It's a lot of waste. That's why they started a lot of big companies, like my company started a company called program called Waste Management. Waste management is to control waste. They monitor it. Literally, you put it in a bucket, they weigh it and scale it. Like, why is that waste bad? Why did it go bad? You have to write a whole fucking report, and the report is like 5 seconds. You're wasting like 30 to 45 minutes writing a report.
Right.
Why do we lost? How to fix the problem? What can we solve? Blah 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 blah. So,
but I think it goes a little bit different though. When I'm talking about waste, I'm really talking about the customers, because they actually had a stat. They make on these ships 21,000 meals a day. So again, you got about 5,000-6,000 people on the ship. 3 meals a day, buffets, restaurants. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all of that. 21,000 meals are created certainly on our ship every single day. And we would go, especially when we went to like the buffets, especially. People would, basically the idea is once you finish, you just get up and leave. You don't bust your plate or whatever. They bust everything and whatnot. And all you saw was plates of food that was barely touched. And that bothered me for a couple of reasons.
I see what you're saying.
One of the things is that's not how I was raised. Now, again, in Greek culture, correct me if you explain from your perspective, but my dad, if there was one thing that would tick my dad off, that he would chew your head off for, is if you didn't finish a plate of food. He would cuss you out. Again, he grew up in the rural South, doing segregation, whatnot, rural farms, poor, all that stuff. And one thing that they preached was you do not waste food. It was a sin to waste food. If you ate an orange and you left the pulp on it, unless he wanted to see your orange peel, and if it wasn't like fully white, he'd be like, you better go back and finish that orange. You left half the orange there. If you ate like a chicken leg or a wing or something and you left even the gristle, the cartilage on it, he would curse you out. He said, you eat everything. You eat the gristle, right? You eat the fat, you eat the gristle, you eat everything. Them bones need to be clean. You do not waste food. That was just like, again, it was like a sin. If your plate wasn't clean, you're not leaving the table. You're not getting, and definitely don't ask about dessert. You're not getting dessert. You're not getting another helping. You're not eating anything else. You better eat that food that's been on your plate. And if you take it, especially if you go out, if you go to a buffet or whatever, if you take it, you eat it. So I don't know, in Greek culture, do you experience that? I mean, as far as food and whatnot. So what from your perspective as a Greek person, is there such a thing in that, when it comes to food waste, your personal consumption?
Very, very similar. So my grandmother, my yaya, used to say, "Μην το βάζεις στο πιάτο σου αν δεν το φας. Don't put it on your plate if you're not going to eat it. Or φάτο αυτό πρώτα και μετά ζητήσεις κι άλλα. Eat your first sitting down, then go back and ask for more if you're so hungry."
Mm-hmm.
So to make sure you eat, you don't waste it. That's the thing. So because you have poor people out there, you have homeless people, so we don't want to waste that.
Yeah, and that was that, and to me, that's what amplified it versus what's here. Because I think sometimes when you're in the United States, I think you could again, sometimes you could take for granted that there's hungry people out there, right? Because you live in the United States, but in some of these, like we're going to Dominican Republic is considered a third world country.
It is.
Yes, it has resorts and whatnot, but generally, if you look at what countries are considered third world, DR is kind of up there. And that's the thing. A lot of these places that you're going to, people have very little. If you go outside the resort, when I went to Jamaica, when you go outside the resorts and you see how people live, a lot of people are living on $30 a day. So they don't have a lot of food, or their meal might be some rice or some vegetables or some plantains or something like that. It's, they don't have a lot. So here it is, you're on this luxury cruise ship, eating whatever you want, whenever you want, as much as you want. And then you go off ship, and then you go on these excursions, you see stuff, especially if you want to go on the ones where you're like, what down where the people are. How could you not, if you have a conscience to say, hey, if that doesn't change your perspective in terms of how blessed you are, because these people would die to be in your position, but you're complaining about it. That's why it's kind of start to show with a lot of people. You travel so much, you start to lose the perspective of how blessed you are to be able to do these things. And so the fact that a lot of these ports that you're going to are people who have less, a lot less, and would literally eat. If you gave them the plate that was half eaten, they would gladly take it. It just does something to you. So when you see food piled up high, plates just like people why'd you take it? And that was just a very uncomfortable thing for me, just seeing that, how frequent it was. So almost every day on the ship. So it was no one's going to give you, very few are going to give you alcohol. Because like I said, that's for most of these ships, that's like their biggest moneymaker is the alcohol. Every drink is like 10 to 12, $20. So run up that tab if you want to.
My ex was from DR, like I mentioned to you guys before, and she used to tell me it's a poor country, and somebody who has like my salary, about 55,000 a year, could move there and live there very, very, very comfortable. Like my salary is like bring in like somebody who's making 10 digits easily, like a 10, maybe 500,000 a year. Let's say that's what my salary would have equaled in DR because the different currency, the peso,
right.
pesos, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So my point is trying to get there is they don't think. Let's talk about stateside for a second about the food for a minute. What you're talking about. Have you been in Chinese buffet anytime recently?
Not recently, but I've been to some. But that's the thing. You don't. Yeah. I honestly I didn't see it as much. At least I wasn't paying attention as much in those places.
No. So it happens in every restaurant you're talking about. People order food and they don't eat it; it gets thrown away.
Yeah.
That's why they give you the option: do you want to take it home or not? Except buffets, you can't do that, obviously. But I went to one recently with somebody, and as I'm there talking to her, and I'm looking over, like I always close as corner of my eyes, walking out, like man, there's a lot of fucking waste. But I definitely understand you can't. When by law, after it goes out, that's it. It has to be chucked into the night. If it's in the kitchen in a warm box, that's different story. You can reuse it. But once it hits the floor, boom, done. I'm looking at her. I'm like, she goes, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "This is a lot of fucking waste."
Yeah.
And I started talking like, man, she goes, like, "Can you just enjoy your meal?" I'm like, it's hard. I'm a chef in the day. It's kind of hard to take the chef out of the chef, if that makes sense.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's just one of those things. It is what it is.
Yeah, but the more I see that, the more I'm disbelieved. When people talk about poverty and hunger, a lot of times I think it's because I think you could solve that if simply just people made a decision to do so. You have such an overabundance. I mean, think about it: 21,000 meals a day. You can feed half a country with that, with your leftovers.
Absolutely.
So, and I get that people talk about food concerns and whatnot, but when you talk about people who can have nothing to eat or very little nourish, eat it. Yeah, black man, why get the food if you're not going to? Says why get the food if you're not going to, sir? Break that down for me a little bit. I think I know what you're trying to say, but I'm not sure exactly.
I think so too, what he's trying to say. But I don't want to put more words in his mouth.
Yeah.
But again, go back to what we're saying.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but just the way I was raised, again, you just don't like. Even me, like there were times. Yeah, I get to a point where I was like, kind of like when you're full, but you still got maybe 2 or 3 bites left. I've always just suck it up and eat the 2 or 4 bites. Like I still have that to this day. And I certainly, credit my father for that. Even the way the way I eat oranges, like there's, it's on an orange, like that membrane piece that you can kind of peel the back of the orange off to get the whole orange, the flesh of the orange off. I still eat oranges that way. It's like I said, my dad, he just drilled that into me. But again, to waste food. And I would get the speech too. Do you know how many kids in Africa would die for the type of food that you're wasting? Exactly. Yeah, very entitled. Exactly. And but I seem to notice it more when I've been on vacation, somehow more than in the States. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with when I go and see the people. And oftentimes the conditions that they're living in. I mean, in Jamaica, you have people living in houses with 10 roofs on them. A lot of them didn't have doors. A lot of them didn't have just a lot of things, or they're living off the land because they got like banana trees and plantain trees and all this kind of stuff over there, over the island or whatnot, so they can pick stuff if they need to survive. But when you have people who are like, so in certainly a lot in my house, or certainly in my dad's time, it was like, nah. What do you mean you getting something? Nah. What's on your plate? You need to finish your food. No, what dessert? No, you're not getting dessert until you finish your food.
That's how it's supposed to be. But,
yeah.
With this easiness of going to Wawa, 7-Eleven, Dunkin' Donuts, Burger King, or whatever, who gives a shit? To say, not my problem. I don't.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of this. I think hunger is a choice. To a large extent, yes. I know you have governments and famines and just certainly things that certainly contribute to that. But again, I think if we really want to solve the hunger crisis, certainly in this country and other places, no one should be hungry in this world. The amount of from the super producing countries and whatnot to those that are mostly impoverished, I can't see what no one should go hungry. I just I just think you have a lot of overproduction and underproduction or famine that there's an imbalance there, but there's enough for everybody. And people say, oh well, you don't want to make it socialized or whatever. I'm not necessarily preaching that, but I'm just saying just a change in mindset. But again, generally take what you can eat. And again, I've been to restaurants where I couldn't finish my food, but guess what? I'm taking it home. I'm not going to let what I've taken go to waste. So yeah, give me a take home bag or whatever, and I'll finish it. Yeah, I've done that. In fact, I do that a lot because I don't know. As I've gotten older, I eat less for some reason. Like I don't have like the big. That's why a lot of times I don't even like going to buffets, because for me, if I get like one plate of food, that's usually enough. I don't go back 3 or 4 times. Like in my teens and 20s, I was like bottomless pit. Like I could just eat food and never gain a pound. That was my thing growing up. But now it's like, yeah, give me one. So even when I go there, I get a little bit of stuff like to kind of fill a plate, and that's it. But it's not piled 6 inches high. I'm not doing that because I know I'm not finishing it. So again, I only take what I can eat. And, now again, for me not to finish it, it has to be like one time I made the mistake of getting this stuff that was like, it had these peppers. I mean, it was like fire hot. I mean, it's like, I couldn't, my eyes were tearing up. It's like, I can't finish this. I mean, I know I took it, but unless it's something like that, if I took it, I try my best to finish it.
It's like you might eat something like you might eat liver. For me, I hate fucking liver.
Right.
And I put it in my mouth like, boom, yeah, happening. So you might pick something at the restaurant like, okay, let me try this. That's something different. Like, nope, not happening. Squid's the other one. I cannot. The texture of squid and liver makes me gag.
Mm.
So I stay away from it. But let's say I get on my plate for some reason. I didn't know there was that. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those few things like putting, liver or squid in my mouth is weird. It doesn't taste right. Yeah, I know. Pause might be me. I know. I already saw that. But again, why don't you get words in my mouth? You think more about what yours is in your mouth, buddy. He's gonna pause me for a third time.
Yeah.
But you get to the point where I'm trying to get to.
Right.
But let me ask you a question. We've seen, like Captain Phillips and Institution Pirates coming on. Would you like looking at the water?
Not on those things. Look, you're gonna have to come with some paramilitary coming up with Cobra choppers or something. I mean, to scale these things, it's like you're scaling like a 20-story building. So these aren't I'd be more concerned like when we were in Bahamas. We saw all of these, luxurious cruise ships. We were passing by houses that was like Oprah Winfrey has a house on there. Shaquille O'Neal has. We passed by Shaquille O'Neal's house. There was another house that.
A cigar with him or something?
No. We were on the water, and the guy was saying that's Oprah's. Oprah owns that house, and Shaquille O'Neal owns this house or whatever, and then whatnot. But you had this section where you had all these luxury yachts. See, that's what I'd be afraid of. I could definitely see a pirate ship coming up on one of them luxury, 50, 30, 40, 50 foot yachts or whatever and doing some damage. But these things, you don't want to go near that thing. I mean, like I say, it is
straight up. They have security you probably don't know about. That's probably a community there because the houses. I saw the videos one after the other and after the other. If I'm not mistaken, right? They're in a row. Correct.
Right.
They probably have their own private.
It's it's like anything else. Why would you go after the biggest bully? If you're gonna rob somebody, why are you gonna go after the biggest guy in the room? You want to pick on the small fry, and that to me that's where I would think with these ships to even pull that off, to pull up on side one, you're gonna need ropes, and I mean, to scale the thing, it's moving 20 miles an hour. Anything, if you get in the way of that thing, you're getting crushed. If you're going through it, so if you're gonna do it, you better do it while it's in port. But again, and the security, like I said, you got security agents all over the place. Like you can't get on and off the ship. The number one thing you must have at all times is your ship card. More important than your ID, your passport. If you don't have that ship card, you can't get within 100 yards of that ship. You know what I mean? So that is your lifeline.
Lose it?
What's that?
Were you guys like scared you might lose it during like how horseback riding and your adventures?
No, well, I actually bought this security thing that I wore around my neck, so it had these pockets and whatnot, and I actually wore it under my clothes. So I wore it under here and just made sure it was just on me at all times. I didn't put it in my pocket.
I'm a comp ticket's almost similar, right?
Yeah, you can certainly get the Lennard and all that and lanyard and put it in that way. But I actually had it in these pouches, and it had this RFID scanned blocking and whatnot. But I would always wear it under my clothes. I never put anything in my pocket because I was always afraid of being pickpocketed. So I always had it very close on my body where it wasn't easily just to reach off or snatch or whatever. So yeah, so with that I was very secure with that. But I kept my ship card, my passport, and my driver's license. I kept all that stuff very close to the vest, under my clothes. But that was to get in and out. Yeah, you needed that. You needed that big time to stay on board. And again, you need to make sure you get back to the ship on time, like I said, and you don't want to get there like a half hour before it leaves because it's like 2,000 people trying to get back on the ship because the excursions went long. So we would typically try to get back around like 3, 4, and whatnot, and so the lines weren't too. Because then you get on, they scan everything. You can't take any food or anything off the ship, and you can't bring stuff onto the ship. There's this one family. They brought all of these cones and shells from the place where they weren't supposed to take. And so they were like, but they had like a whole bag. I mean, like the guy turned it over and it's like all these shells and conchs and whatnot came out of the bag. It's like, you can't take any of this stuff with. I can see you taking one or try to take one, but they had all these conchs and seashells. It was like the guy poured it out. It's like this.
That's ridiculous. First of all. Second of all, like if you're buying like souvenir, you like bring it back. Like for example,
you can those. But I'm talking about anything like the natural resources of the place.
Oh, that's the
anything in the nature. Like I said, they took these in the nature. Yeah, these weren't souvenirs that they bought. They just literally took stuff off the island that they weren't supposed to and whatnot. They put it through the scanner because they scan you every time you come on and come off. So they put it through the scanner. It's like, sorry, you can't take the shells and stuff. He poured it over. It was like the whole bag. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
I don't understand if you want to grab one as like a
exactly. I was like, why?
I don't think they're gonna say anything about one shell.
Oh my gosh!
But you're talking.
That had to be incredibly embarrassing. Everybody's looking at him. It's like, man, you guys going to the piss. You guys trying to extort or whatever. So yeah. That was. That was embarrassing.
The thing I don't understand is what made his mind think this is a good idea.
It was the whole thing because the wife was the one who had them, but it was the husband, it was a wife and their kids, and so I guess they were all like, "Hey, this is a great idea," or whatever. So but she was the one. I don't know. I had no idea. Like I said, maybe try to sell them, export them, sell them on eBay. I don't know what they were trying to do. But the whole bag was full. I was like, I looked at my wife. I was like, man, some of it was just.
Now, if you're like Cuba, for example, trying to smuggle like I don't know, 10,000 Cuban cigars, they go for like $1,500 a piece. Okay, I can see that making sense.
Right.
You're talking about shells.
Exactly. That was clearly printed on there. The do's and the don'ts. Don't take food off the ship. And as far as anything natural that wasn't bought in the port or shopping excursions or whatever, don't bring it on. It was all there. But just like anything else, people going to do what they're going to do, or at least try to anyway, to try to get through. But again, very secure. I mean, the one thing about the ship in general, you talk about the pirates and everything, very secure. The ports, they don't play. They got, they got those places all locked down, and they got, even like I said, several hundred yards before you even get in. The security sort of meets you right there. So again, very secure places, and it makes sense. These ships are worth billions of dollars. I mean, the ship we were on, I think was made for almost like $800 million to make the ship. $800 million. So these guys, when they buy these ports or access these big ports, I mean, it's the cruise lines that really pay the funding for it. So again, they're not going to play with their investment. And so, so they're going to make sure that, security is going to be very tight. So, they make it a very friendly, well, welcome, you don't feel threatened. But
all right, I just looked the price how much cruise goes for. So on the very small scale for about on the about up to 500 passengers is about $195 million to build it. Now, what you were on, it was like over 500,000 people, correct?
Well, I think it's past like 5,500, 5,600 people in total, including, like I said, about well over 1,100 to 1,200 crew members. But I looked it up myself. It's the MSCC side, and it was built for like $800 million.
Okay, that one, the biggest one I'm looking at right here is 1.26 billion.
Billion, yeah. Yeah, these aren't cheap. I mean, think of it. They're building football stadiums for that kind of money. Or at least they used to a few years ago.
Fucking having a fucking city on the water.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like
it is.
Yeah. I'll have my own fucking army. I have my little Spartans, my little Spartan, my big Spartan, and the fuck Spartans. So if you want to fuck with them, here's the cavalry. Fuck you now, kind of thing.
Yeah, they're not. And like I said, these are major investments, and they're certainly more expensive than airplanes. I don't think a 747 or a 787 Dreamliner, I don't think even they cost that much to make per plane. So you can imagine what they put into these things, and they have everything. I mean, like I said, they got zip lining on the things, they got water slides on the thing, the pools, hot tubs, arcades. They had bowling alleys on it. They had
I never heard about it on the ship.
Yeah, they had 2 bowling lanes right on the ship. You could pay for that. They had game rooms. Like I said, there's not much that if you want to do on the ship. They got shopped at several stores where you could do shopping on the boat itself to get merch. I mean, lounges every can. So Mandrell, he was on earlier. He was talking about, I missed the games. I was able to see all the games because again, they have a big sporting lounge on the ship. They got like 100-foot, projection screen with the games on it. Mm-hmm. So again, if I wanted to watch the games, I could because they had the big sports bar, several bars, lounges, cigar lounges. They have a casino on it. A pretty decent sized casino on the ship if you're into the gamble. Again, my wife and I aren't gamblers, but they have that option too if you want to do. So again, it's a lot in a little space. It takes you out. Now, I know some people who are like, I hate cruises, like people who just don't like them. And I'm not saying that a cruise is for everybody. I know Milani was talking about that she's interested in going on a cruise. I would certainly recommend a cruise. Now, again, what line you go with, I've heard good things about Norwegian. That seems to be like, if you want to talk about gold standard, I hear Viking is amongst one of the best. Norwegian and Virgin. Those are like the big. MSC might be 4th, or depending on. But again, I think a lot of it depends on your experience. The only one I hear bad things about is Carnival, but again, that's almost like a party ship. And then I know people rave about the Disney cruise, but again, if you don't want a place that has a lot of kids on it, if you want something more adult, but even then you got to play with a little bit. So a lot of people say, I want more adults. You got to be careful with that because you don't want to necessarily be on a ship with a bunch of senior citizens. No offense to senior citizens, but if you're talking about the 70 and up club, you don't want to be with that crowd. But at the same time, you don't want a party boat also. Depending on your at our ages, we like to party a little bit. We did a little bit of partying. We went some of the after party and see what's going on. But generally speaking, and my thing is with my wife, you got to play the right music for her. She can dance all night, but if only. You got to play it. So she doesn't like a lot of the modern dance music. Now, if it's 90s house music or some of those old, jams that you hear in the black clubs. Yeah, she'll get on to, but a lot of the Latin music or whatever. Again, she'll listen to some of it, but it's like they'll have these sections where they play Latin music all night long, and that doesn't necessarily want to get her on the dance floor. But you would get, but again, adults only. Again, it depends. Now, some of these boats are basically specifically for hooking up. I got, they got this one, I forget what they call it, seduction or something like that. But it's for young people, young millennials and Zers to basically get on there and hook up. that's what it's for. I mean, so you got those kind of adults only. And then, like I said, you got the ones where, again, it's mostly kids. Now, my suggestion would be go at a time of the year, especially if you're going to go to the Caribbean, go at a time of the year where the kids are in school. So they're saying like September, October is a good time to go on a cruise if you don't want a lot of kids, because, again, most schools are starting up at that time. When we went, again, kids, they might be out of school or whatever, so you might not get as many. So that might be a great time to go. But, So again, that's something you have to manage. I think Viking, they might be one of the lines that has specifically adults only. I think Virgin has specifically adults only cruises. If you want to check those two, out. But generally, though, a lot of these lines, especially Carnival, like I said, Disney, especially, if you don't have kids, don't go on Disney. I wouldn't even recommend Disney if you wanted to go to, even though the ship is beautiful. But yeah, that's a different crowd.
But isn't October, September, when the kids are in school, a little cheaper for the cruises, or not really?
Well, typically later in the year, yeah, it's typically cheaper. I mean, obviously the summer months, everything is more expensive in the summer. Of course. The only thing also is if you do go into sort of especially Caribbean, it's also the hottest. I mean, Bahamas is average 97 in this is their winter. So, and the weather was like in the mid 70s, mid to upper 70s, very comfortable. But if you go in the summer, it's like average every day is like 97 degrees, and you'll be, so you don't, if you don't want it super hot like that, then yeah, go either in the spring or in the fall. In fact, for the next cruise that we're looking to do, again, we are looking at Mediterranean next year. We're looking also at September, October. And so we're deciding if we want to do the Eastern Mediterranean or the Western side where Greece is. So we're still trying to decide that. We got some quotes, and we're going to do some homework and see what comes up. But certainly we're fans of cruises, though. I think for me, I never want to be in a place too long where I get bored. So if I was on an island for like 4 or 5 days or whatever, I may get bored with stuff after a while. So I think a cruise gives you the opportunity to kind of, it's like a buffet. You sort of pick and choose what you want. You get a little bit of this or that. If you want to go back more extensively, then you can get into an extended stay at that specific place. So like I said, already I know that I wouldn't mind going back to San Juan. San Juan was, I thought, phenomenal. I mean, it was really as I don't remember. Yeah,
that's the best way to do it.
Warm, hot, but again, there's hot, and then there's Caribbean hot. You don't want to go when it's.
Let me ask this question, Paul.
Yeah.
Once you get off the plane and you realize there's a negative 5 goddamn degrees down here, and you're like, "Oh fuck, this is cold."
No, I was like I said, when I got off, I was happy to be home. So it was, like I said, all I needed was hear some Bruce Springsteen. I would have been happy with that, but no. Well, obviously, my kids, essentially, when we were there, we got about 3 or 4 inches here, and they were calling up and said, "Dad, you mean we have to shovel snow now?" I was like, "Yeah, you got to shovel snow I can't be there to help you this time because usually I'm the one who typically handles all that kind of stuff." So I said, "Welcome." Welcome to the real world. Now you get a chance to shovel snow and do all that stuff that hopefully you'll appreciate me now more when I get home of the stuff I do to make sure that you guys don't have to work too hard. So yes, you guys got to shovel snow out there. So, but again, I take it all. What's that?
You have a big driveway too.
I do. So yeah. So seeing them, knowing that, and they actually, when I came back, it was pretty cleaned off. So they did it. So I said, you guys did a great job of cleaning everything up. So
to be honest,
what's that?
Do you think they pay something or they did themselves?
Maybe, but hey, that's on them. If they pay somebody or whatever, hey, you know what? That's on them. Yeah, 70 to 90. Like I said, when the index goes after over 95, yeah, you might want to watch that, and you'll definitely get that in, like I said, in the middle summer months. You'll definitely get those kind of temperatures there. So you want to be careful of that.
I think if I, went to a warmer country, like you did, traveling and come back from cold, like I would like, I'm not used to this yet.
Yeah, well, obviously we left obviously in the cold, so we kind of had like our winter stuff on when we left.
Yeah.
When we got on the plane leaving out of Miami, we kind of had our winter stuff sort of back on, and so when we got off, we were kind of like ready for it, because again, it was like 25 degrees when we left. We left very early in the morning, so it was like 25 when we left the house. So we already knew what was up, and then when we came back, it was like, yep, just as we left it. So it wasn't a huge shocker to it.
Left. The last couple days have been very cold.
Yeah, when we left at 4 a.m. To get to the airport for a 7:30 flight. Yeah, it was like 26 degrees when we left the house.
Right now it's not it's 9 degrees up here in PA. It was 15 this morning or day. So again, it's a little different. Probably a little warmer towards your area,
right?
But you should have taken it with you and kept it there.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. We definitely trolled some people, especially our kids, when we were when I'm on the boat on the back of the ship, and I got my Hawaiian shirt on and the sunglasses on and whatnot.
Don't rub it in.
Yeah. Now, one thing that was also good. Now, Katalia brought this up. One thing, especially when you go with the nicer ships, the newer ships, the biggest ships, they do have pretty good gyms, and I made sure that I got my grind in. So I had my leg day, I had my upper body day. Now again, they're not the most stacked, right? So I'd say it's a decent, but especially and you do better obviously when you go earlier, because sometimes they don't have multiples of machines that you would typically find like in an LA Fitness or Retro Fitness or whatever. So sometimes you do have to wait on machines, or you find alternatives like a free weight exercise. If you're waiting for a certain machine, do a free weight exercise instead that accommodates. So if you saw like the last training video I used a lot of dumbbells. Typically I use a lot of machines, but in this particular video I used a lot of dumbbells because I just didn't want, and sometimes you'd have like a couple be on the machine and whatnot, and they're kind of making googly eyes at each other as they're working out and all that kind of stuff. It's almost like, I think it's foreplay. It seems like they're doing over there. So if you're not used to waiting, which I'm not because I train at home. So for me, going to any gym is a little bit of an adjustment for me. If I have to wait at home, I don't have to wait on anything. So I can work certainly a lot faster and do the things that I want to do when I want to do it. But overall, the gyms on these luxury ships, just like in luxury hotels. I mean, usually when my wife and I decide what hotel to stay at, one of the things that I look at in the pictures or finding out about the location is the gym. I want to know how good it is. Do they have certain machines? Do they have certain equipment? And if I see that, then okay, I'll book there. But if they don't have a good gym, if they only have like a couple of dumbbells or something like that and a spin bike, then I say, no, that's not, I'll look for somewhere else. But generally, even on vacation, I never take a vacation from working out. If I'm healthy, if
you're the only person that goes on vacations and he works out. Everybody I know, even people who work more hardcore than you, they have to work out 7 days a week. I know they never only time they take a week. Oh, vacation, a time off is on vacation.
No.
On vacation.
No, vacation part because for me it's almost like a thing. You kind of work hard, play hard. You know what I mean? Like I don't mind. Obviously I'm eating a lot of foods that I typically don't eat on a regular basis when I'm at home. My diet's a lot more strict. But if I'm going to go off diet, then I want to feel like I'm earning it. So even on vacation, you saw my last video. I'm grinding hard. I'm still going to failure. I'm still putting the putting the work in.
It's great. You're putting the work in, Paul.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah. So
now with you working on a ship, did you watch it or did you like fuck it? I mean, what I
no. My thing is again, I have an 80% mentality when it comes to food. I say eat well about 80% of the time. 20% of the time, eat anything you want. So for me, like once a week, typically on Saturday, I eat anything I want. That's also a training day for me. So Saturdays, when I'm home, I eat anything I want that day. But when it comes to Monday morning, I'm back on my diet. So again, I don't get outside of anything. But yes, if you're on vacation, we got Christmas next week. Yeah, it's okay to get off unless you're like a bodybuilder or something. You're competing for a show or an athlete. You have a competition. You train, for an upcoming event or something. Then obviously you gotta have that strictness, even during the holiday season. But again, your holiday, your birthdays, your weekends, your anniversary, you're going on vacation. Yes, eat well, eat what you want. I mean, like Milani said, balance. Don't go one way, but again, you can go and again, you did have a couple of people like that just saw that was like, oh, well, do you have this? Hey, don't put this on there and stuff like that. It's like, dude, it's like, unless you have an allergy to something, enjoy food. You can read all the articles you want. Yeah, I get processed food, chemicals in food. Yes, I get all of that. But again, if you're doing the right things most of the time, people worry about how, is eating this way, is that going to add a whole bunch to your life? I got to talk about one experience I had because I talked about, at the beginning of the show. For me, the vacation is not solely about where we're going or even what you're doing. It's also the people that you encounter.
Of course. And
we had the pleasure, and I don't say this a lot, but the pleasure of dining. So like you go to dining, you had your dinner time, and we sat next to, and typically the people you dine with, you kind of with them for the entire week, for the entire time you're there. So we met a couple that was there, Canadian, Asian Canadian couple. Now again, families originally from Hong Kong. They've been in Canada since 1912. So this is a multi-generational Asian family, has roots. I mean, these are Canadians. This couple's been married for 43 years. Now, you talk about me, I'm in season 28. And we had the pleasure of dining next to this couple for the week, talking about anything and everything from science to this guy worked in the Canadian health public health sector. So this guy was like on the front lines when it came to not only COVID, but also SARS. Remember that SARS outbreak that happened a few years back? He was on the front lines of that. So he knows a lot of things. And so I was able to ask him a lot of questions when it came to certain things. So I asked him about, okay, when it comes to health standards, I know we have people talk about kosher versus halal foods. Is there really a difference between just regular foods, or we talked about a couple of weeks ago about organic versus non-organic foods? Is there a big health difference? And he was like, no, not really. It's like there's really no difference between the stuff. So he was just breaking it down to us and whatnot. And my wife and I, we just listened. I mean, these guys, it's interesting how, we come from very different worlds, but very similar to our gray area show. We had a lot in common. His wife is a lot like my wife in a lot of areas. They were so similar. And my wife was like, oh, we could be sisters. I mean, they were just chatting up. They had so much in common in terms of how they saw things, how they saw the world, how they thought about things. I'm talking to the husband. We're going, over some things. And my wife and I, we shut up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, people look at us and say, hey, you guys are in 28 years. Hey, we got so much wisdom. But one thing my wife and I, certainly in recent years, when we've met people or couples who've got more mileage, we're not afraid to shut up and let them talk. So I'm asking questions and I just shut up and just listen to them, how they see and how they process things. And so it's interesting just on this trip that, this couple that we met and just the experience, like it's almost to a degree, the trip itself, what really made it worthwhile, the excursions and everything was great. The food, the islands, the sights and the sounds, all that stuff was great. But to spend the week with that couple, and a lot of times we would, after dinner, we would go and sit in the lounge and talk. And we would be there for like, or standing in the hallway after dinner. We're just talking to them and sharing. And they were so willing to share what they had, what they knew from their experiences, the good, the bad, the different. Like, how'd you guys stay together for 43 years and whatnot? My wife, we're still interested in that. Like, we want to learn we still learn from our elders. And yeah, a lot of people, is like, oh, well, y'all been married for a long time, and what can you tell us? But we're still, our door is still open. We still seek knowledge. We still see how we can be better. And with this couple that we that we're able to spend the week with, we got that. So that was a blessing. So again, the people who you encounter, even the people who you encounter who may have a negative spin, like I said, the guy who went to Hawaii 6 times. And just the things he was just spitting out, that he just felt just to volunteer to us. It was like, you know what, that's interesting. How you can be so well traveled that even Hawaii doesn't do it for you anymore. And so just taking from that, the people who you get, guys I would just talk to on a random. I'm in the gym working out with some guys, and them just sharing their backgrounds and their motivation. I met a guy in the gym, big guy. He might have been like a bodybuilder or powerlifter back in the day or whatnot. He's my age. He's 55. He just became a pilot like a year ago. And he just said, I just got to a point. I just want to be a pilot. I've always wanted to be a pilot. Just a year ago, he just decided that, what, I want to fly airplanes. And he just went through it. So just people that just all kinds of backgrounds, you got your different political persuasions or whatnot on there, whatnot, different ethnicities or whatever. But again, people you just talking to on the tour, people who you're sitting next to and whatnot, you get a chance to engage them with them a bit. That to me is part of the journey also, is those type of encounters. And you may never see these people again, but they left an impression on you that you can take back and say, you know what, that's interesting. Hey, you know what, we need to think about that.
Facebook and everything, you could have changed information and talk to them still afterwards.
It's interesting that the Asian couple, they meet so many people. They like this couple, like we're just getting out to see. I just saw 3 countries that I never been to before, right? Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and Bahamas. Never been there. These guys have a goal. They've traveled so much on tours. They're like lifelong members. Their goal is they want to get to every continent.
Shit.
Like they've been to dozens. Okay. They were talking about they're planning a cruise in Australia coming up. So they met so many people over time. They said, look, we can't keep in contact with everybody. So it's kind of like, it was almost one of those things. It's like a Mr. and Mrs. Miyagi just kind of coming to your life for a minute, like boom, like an angel just kind of drops in.
It's kind of bittersweet. Like you meet somebody cool and interesting, and you really want to keep in contact, but it's impossible sometimes.
Yeah. But they come into your life for a minute, but they leave an impression, and then it's like they're just off to the next. And who else they're gonna meet in the future? They were just there for the time. You know what I mean? So again, the blessing is those type of encounters and what you're able to garner from those. And he was just dropping just little nuggets here and there. I mean, these guys are well off. Even though he worked for government, his wife worked for a bank for many years. Very good with the money. Very good invest. They're living off their investments and basically traveling the world. So again, yeah, I'm gonna sit down and look because I'm still working. So obviously you guys did something that I haven't done yet, or I'm not there yet. So as much as I may, people to me talk about us in terms of where we're at. Hey, you got such an example. No, I'm still looking for examples. I'm still, like I said, my cup has still got room in it, and I want my cup filled. So if you're an OG that's got some, hey, I'm all ears in terms of what you guys have to offer. And that's just a mindset that my wife and I have. we're still. I always said I want to grow in wisdom, and I want to grow in knowledge and experiences. But the one thing I do not want to do is grow old. Because once you grow old, the door closes. You don't absorb anything else. No, you don't have the capacity, or you think you know everything. And we're just of the opinion, it's like, no. I mean, we are still sponges, still soaking up. And if we encounter people who can add benefit to our lives, even if it's just in a conversation, we listen. And we just appreciate just the experience of meeting these people, or how people, or just seeing how people think, and just having more perspective in terms of how the world works. And even when you go to these countries and you see people who have a fraction of what you have, but they're not stressed. They take every day as it comes. And, but here, like in the States or in developed countries, we have so much, but we stressing about everything. And so again, for a lot of these people they're so laid back, they just take it, as, look, God gives it and God takes it away. But we have everything in this country. And it just reminds me of, again, the immigrant mindset that a lot of people come here. Why immigrants oftentimes do well when they come to the United States.
Forget about it. That's a problem. We're all, myself, even you.
Yeah.
All of us, we all forget where we came from. Go do your fucking history, your family history. And I tell you, you're an immigrant somehow, some way. If you're not a Native American, you're not American. Simple as that. You might be American by, citizenship, and that's fine. You can I'm not taking that away from you. What I'm saying, we forget we are all immigrants. We forget we don't come from this ground. We don't come from this land. And we're here now. Oh, this is different, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, fuck you, dude. I don't want to hear that bullshit. Wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah.
Or smell whatever you want to sniff.
Yeah.
But wake up and smell the facts. The facts are America was built on immigrants. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's what makes this country unique versus other countries. Let's say Greece, for example, Puerto Rico, DR. They have their own natives there. We don't have a native. Except in America, and they're extinct almost at this point, if you really think about it.
Right. The only nuance I would add to your description, which I agree mostly with, yes, it was built with immigrants, but it's also built with slaves.
Oh, I'm not.
And I know you're not. I like to, because I wanted to go back and talk about San Juan, because we went to this, and certainly could tell you what, know about this. There's a famous fort in San Juan, and it was built by the Spanish soldiers, by the native folks on the island, and slaves, African slaves.
Okay.
But the place is absolutely a marvel. I mean, it's in fact, let me get the I know I have the name of it here somewhere, but it's huge. It's like a city block, large, and it's just, it's a technical marvel. I mean, you can see like how, like, anybody coming up against this thing, you're going to run into trouble. I mean, it has so many cannon ports and whatnot. It's located on a certainly a very precious area of land, and just the technology of the time. Again, this place was built like in the 1500s. So I'm talking about like the architects, like, people talk about how they built the pyramids, right? Like for years, they didn't know how they built the pyramids because, again, you didn't have computers, you didn't have CAD, you didn't have a lot of the technology, but they were able to build these things. And even then, the way they built it, the way, like, obviously it's on a area, they didn't have water, but they built these structures in the thing to collect rainwater. That's how they got the water on the island, was the rainwater. They had these reservoirs that were set up. They had the bunks where the soldiers were. They had all these underground tunnels that they had to move about the fort, whatnot. I mean, it was just tremendous in terms of the architecture of the place. And I just soaked that all up. How is it that these people were able to fashion something? Again, it was made. Again, it was made by, like I said, slave labor was there, no question about it. But again, those Spaniards and those native people, they put up something that was virtually impenetrable. And it was just immense what they were put together. Bahamas, they had a fort also, clearly not nearly as big. I mean, it was tiny fort in the Bahamas that was there as well. But the fort in San Juan, I'm like, man, that's got to go down as one of the ancient wonders of the world. To build that kind of
Coming closer, or point closing point.
Yep.
Your favorite memory, your favorite experience, and your favorite wow factor.
The wow factor might be, and this is again, this Castillo San Felipe. That's the fort I was referring to. So again, that was the wow in terms of just the enormity of it, the engineering. That was pretty impressive. The other wow was the ships themselves. Again, just walking about it. These ships are like over 1,000 feet long. I don't have anything any building. What building's 1,000 feet long? What stadium is 1,000 feet long? It's just like these enormous, but men built these things, or the engineering, the science,
like the pyramids, for example. Those things,
yes,
are humongous.
Yeah,
the Acropolis in Greece, the Great Wall of China. These things are massive.
There you go.
These ships are masterpieces in a way, if you really think about it.
Yeah. So it's so that just the technical marvels that man has been able to create. And there's one thing I actually asked on. I think we were on a barbershop or something like that, and I was just wondering: is it almost inevitable, like for man to kind of go backwards? You know what I mean? Because we talked about on an early edition of the Gray Area Show, we were talking about like those ancient civilizations, like history, like those libraries in Alexandria, right? They had all that information and whatnot, and stuff just got burned up. And I'm just wondering if we, yes, absolutely. The Stone in the Tile, phenomenal. It's just what men have been able to create. And I'm just wondering if we're setting ourselves up almost like a house of cards. Like if something cataclysmic happens, do we go back to the Dark Ages? Like coming out of the Dark Ages, man had to rediscover the science and the technology to build the modern world that we live in. But for a period of time, Europe was in the Dark Ages, especially the famines, the bubonic plague, all that kind of stuff. We had to kind of relearn stuff. But this stuff has been here before. Imagine if those libraries in Alexandria that compiled hundreds, if not thousands of years of history was still around. Where would we be as humanity if we still had that knowledge and information? So we go through these periods where we have to kind of rediscover how to do stuff. So again, the engineering is certainly something that is something to marvel. Obviously, the natural landscape, the water, the natural beauty of these structures, the calmness of going to these places and really being able to meditate. Like I said, if you want to have like a spiritual experience, I've said this even in my Bible studies and whatnot, that I think a lot of times we get so caught up in our physical buildings and the things that we build around us. We don't spend a lot of time in the natural, in the world itself, to see blue water, not water that's polluted, to see natural structures and wonders and forestry and flora and fauna and things of that nature. And I think we need to take a pause and really get out into the natural world and to see it and to meditate on it. And because one thing it'll do, it will definitely humble you. If you have any character whatsoever, it will humble you. And again, you come back with more appreciation certainly for what you have, but then at the same time, if you if you don't have that perspective. Now, I haven't been to St. Augustine, Florida yet, but I will certainly add that to the list. Shout out to KP from KC. We play you guys on last game of the season, so hopefully we get a win there. But in any event, but yeah, there's a lot of things in this world, I think, that certainly my wife and I we want to see. But at the same time, again, I want to maintain that innocence of just taking this in, being grateful, one, that I got the means to do it, and that, we have the time certainly to put in, and we have the relationship to do it. Because again, nobody wants to travel with somebody who you don't like. So I'm just happy. Yeah, when we went to Florida, we everything was in Miami, so we went Miami to the ship, and then so we didn't get a chance to go around, but that's certainly something worth visiting. But again, spending it with the love of your life. Because I've seen, we met a few people there with single travelers. The guy who went to Hawaii 6 times, again, he was a single traveler, and again, he had no kids. We met a few people on the ship who were just there just to kind of mingle and whatnot and be there. But I think there is something special about being able to go with someone who you love, who is equally curious about stuff as you are, and just to spend the time, whether it be playing Uno in the middle of the night, or going to a fabulous show, or sharing a meal together, or just sitting at on the aft of the ship and just taking in the sun and just being together with with someone. So again, go to my Facebook, my Instagram. So a lot of I shared the best pics, and we have some photos that I'll be sharing shortly. We got some because one thing cruise lines, what they also try to get you on is photos. They have like photo packages and whatnot. We did invest in some that I think I'm very pleased with, and I'll be sharing those. So again, if you could look at my Instagram, Paul T. Bennet on Instagram, look at my Facebook, look me at Paul T. Bennet. Again, I'm not hard to find. You can certainly go there and look at some of the pictures and the pictures that I will be posting of us. Some very good shots of us that very proud to have as well. So yeah, definitely you can go and check those. You did check those out. But what were you gonna say?
I gotta talk to your wife. I'll tell you why. I think you fucking cheated on Uno. I'm not gonna give this up to you.
Of course I did. Okay. Of course I did. I play to win. But guess what? We still together.
Now
I was rubbing it in when I won. My hands were raised in victory and whatnot. Now when she rubs it into when she won, she comes at me and whatnot. But yeah, man, I ain't going out like that. I'm ultra competitive to the core. So yeah, I'm gonna by any means necessary. I'm gonna have the last laugh. So last game we played was 2 out of 3. So I got the 2 out of I got the 2 out of 3 there. But the simple things, and that's the thing also with us. Like we don't have to necessarily go and do everything. Like I said, my wife she's not doing skydiving or parasailing or scuba diving or any of that stuff. We're not doing any of that. We're not doing any of that stuff.
Yeah, you are.
But it's all right.
You would do with me.
No, I did not. Go back. We got recordings. We got recordings. So
yeah, Boss Man is just heard this. Say yay if you heard him in the chat for me, please, because you said it.
Nope.
Hint.
Nope.
Boss Man.
No skydiving. No skydiving. But again, we can start a Cash App, and we can certainly raise money for the Ghost of Sparta's sky jumping. See, no, he's not. Go back and play it. Video or didn't happen. So go back. You can go back and rewind this and get the video. Jet skiing. Now, see, I was willing to go. My wife didn't want to go though. Like I said, when we're together like that, I don't necessarily want to do something that she wouldn't be willing to do. So if she comes up and says, "Look, we could be on that jet ski together, and whatnot," and she's willing to join me, then I'll do it. But I'm not necessarily looking to go just for myself, just on the jet ski. But if she's riding behind me like on a motorcycle or something like that, then yeah, I would definitely do that. But it's certainly
motorcycle either.
Nah. Nah. I mean,
Well, you told me,
she's a scaredy cat. Let's
listen. Truthfully, your wife is a sweetheart from the time I met her, and I don't see her doing like, "Hey, babe, you know what? You should get a Harley." And you're gonna look at where's my wife? That's the first word to come out of your mouth. I don't see you ever getting a Harley either.
Nah, I was thinking about when that series American Chopper was on. I figured what it would be pretty cool. But actually, a good friend of mine, a very good friend of ours, who did perish. He was actually a motorcycle instructor, and he had got killed on a motorcycle, and that just did something to me where I was like, I didn't want to. I just kind of lost interest after that.
They're very dangerous. I'm not gonna deny that.
Yeah,
100%. But that's a whole conversation different for another show.
absolutely.
Right,
But just to summarize, but yes, cruises. Like I said, I would recommend them. I would say certainly do your homework. A lot of them not terribly expensive. It can get expensive. I mean, you could spend for a couple. You could spend as low as $1,000. You could spend $8,000. So again, depending on your options, your upgrades. The other thing, and I would say it might have been a negative about the cruise is again the beds. Not necessarily. I'm a classic side sleeper, and I've been sleeping on a memory foam mattress for the past 3 years, and it's hard to go out of that. So even when I stay in hotels or someplace else, the mattresses oftentimes feel very firm, and so a lot of times when I'm waking up, my neck is hurting, my shoulders hurting, or something like that, or my hip is hurting or something. So finding a good quality bed or certainly a memory foam type bed that you may find a little bit hard to find. In those type of in cruise ships especially, but even in hotels, a lot of the luxury hotels don't necessarily have those kind of beds. But I'm like I'm almost like conformed to it now. But having said that,
you have a
highly
where you go.
Yeah. So, but having said that, overall, cruises it's a nice way to see a lot within a limited portion of time. Hopefully, if anything, it'll inspire you to again want to go deep. So Katari's already given me the information, so I may reach out to you again when my wife and I decide to return to San Juan. That what the things to do down there and whatnot. So she's already giving me some recommendations. Again, I did have the mofongo, which was excellent, and they even told me there's another dish called the trifungo, which is even better. So I need to get some of that. I need to find it. I'm in New Jersey, so I should be able to find a Puerto Rican restaurant, and hopefully they have some good trifungo up here. Yeah, that I can try as well. But I'm definitely on the Puerto Rican food, and so I'm just looking for some of these excursions. And for those of you, if you've had excursions to these places, I may reach out, or you can certainly share what you know about it from Alani. Again, if you definitely considering the cruise, definitely I think it's worth it to certainly try. And and see what happens in Catelia. I know she's talking about the Alaska to see the whales. Yeah, I could be down for that as well. Just not too cold though. I don't necessarily want to cruise on gold, but again, great time. And certainly I enjoyed sharing experience with you. Again, you guys want to see some pics from where I was there. Again, check out my Facebook or my Instagram. You see a lot of stories and videos that some reels that I put up there. Regarding our time there, but a great time, and I wish that everybody certainly has the ability to travel, and just take in and don't take for granted your ability to travel. The fact that you can get up in an airplane and touch down safely, that's a blessing, and just really take it all in and consider a joy that you're able to see other parts of the world. Hopefully, to give you a more global perspective and see from another person's lens. How the world lives. So appreciate the opportunity for sharing tonight.
So, Paul, next week we'll be back at it like always, right, brother?
Yeah, that's right. I'm back.
So you were a little bit. I'm not gonna deny it. It was a little weird not having you on the hangout. The Spartan Arena and this. So I'm gonna tell you this from the bottom of my heart. Never go anywhere again. You're not allowed with my goddamn permission. Oh, I'm gonna write your ass up and I'm gonna shove it right up your ass. Okay, bye.
And with that, we thank you all again. The Queen, as always, Lady Naboa in the house tonight. Thank you for coming through again. Pete from KC was here. Braxton, the Snake Fiend, he was in here earlier, and again, our man Lost in Translation, he was here as well. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Hopefully, this was informative for you guys. Hopefully, my little retrospective certainly resonated with you guys tonight. And but yeah, I would say consider cruising. At least try it once in your life, and I think you'll get some benefit out of it. But with that, I'm Mr. Bennett. He is
This is Sparta!
the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Piotis. This is the gray area on this Sunday in June. If we don't see you guys have a Merry Christmas. All right, so we'll definitely see you guys next week. But again, Merry Christmas. Enjoy your families and whatnot. Enjoy. I know this is a difficult time for some people, especially when it comes to family stuff. But hopefully you can remember the reason for the season and find joy in these times. And so until we see you again on the next edition of the Gray Area, you guys take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.
All right, guys, another one in the books. Another great episode on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Listen, we're doing the thing over here. So, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Also, if you want to donate to the channel, which helps the channel, hit your boy Cash App. It's scrolling right here, right there, at the bottom of the screen. And support the channel. But we're happy that you're here, and we look forward to seeing you on every episode. So hit the notification button so you know when we go live. Thank you again, guys, for watching. We out.